Welcome to episode 10.
We have made it to number 10. We're no longer part of a statistic, but the goal now will be to move towards 20 episodes. And I thought for episode 10, what could be really nice is if we just do a recap and pull everything that we've done, thought about, all the little moments we've had, and just compile it into one episode and see what that looks like.
Yeah, there was a part of the brainstorm for the episode was in one of the episodes, we were like, I'm having a moment. And we were like, oh, I wonder if we track through the episodes and all of the I'm having a moments, if that's worth rehashing. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I think what would be really nice is if we go all the way back to episode 0, which is where we started this idea and, well, brought it to life. The idea started well before that. We finally brought it to life and we just clicked record and we just started talking, sharing ideas of what we wanted it to be about. And then, yeah, I've just written a few notes on each episode to highlight the moments. Moments we've had. If we can compile it all together, and then if we want to add any extra flair in, we can do that as well.
Yeah.
It should be quite nice. Do you remember what episode 0 was?
It was kind of like the idea of Stoke.
Yeah.
And just like what it could be. And that episode was probably more for you and me to see if we were excited by the idea of it, if we could actually do it.
Yeah. Essentially, it's just an idea that we joked about a few times and then we started taking it a bit more seriously and we kind of amped each other up to see if, like, is this something we actually want to try? And we both kind of agreed that yes, but with these set rules.
Yeah.
The big thing is, like, if we can just turn up, click record, go home, and that's it, kind of like bare bones, then that's definitely a yes. And the other thing is if it's not too forced or like pressured, we don't want to stick to a strict schedule and have to like do everything bang, 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 bang. We want to have that freedom to, if we feel like it, we do it. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
And if we don't get past episode 10, then so be it. It's just an episode at a time.
We had good fun attempting it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good run.
Yeah.
A few other things in that is just creating a space where we can share thoughts. You and I both work alongside each other, but in two very different roles, and we don't see each other all day, every day. We'll definitely scream across the park to each other and, and wave and whistle and stuff, but it's a really nice spot to be able to come away and here specifically, just dedicate a whole weekend to just talking and reflecting a bit. That's basically what the nutshell of Stoke is.
Yeah.
And then we both love sitting around a fire and stoking the fire and talking about metaphors, the fire inside us of our job and our passion and how we love interacting with people and trying to shape and mold people.
And hoping that our conversations are the thing that stokes that passion and that fire for us. And if anyone happens to listen to it, that it prompts a thought or encourages them or challenges them, that it stokes people listening as well as us.
The other part was where do we want it to go? So
was that episode 0 where we wanted to go?
Yeah, it was kind of like the back end of it. So
wow,
we had the idea itself and what that kind of looks like, but also what's the end goal? Where do we want to end up? We talked about, obviously, start with audio only because it's minimal commitment and we don't have to edit much. We can just go for it. Then we moved to visual in episode 10, which is going to be interesting because we spent probably, I'd say, close to an hour trying to like set up, get the right angle, find a decent spot. We were down the river in the straight sun and that was just never going to work. We'd be dripping.
And the screen would just be white with like exposure.
And so who knows what this is going to look like, but I feel like the view's good enough that even if the video's not good, we can do it justice. And if it, like, worst case scenario, we just do audio and all of it's just a flop. But
and I think back to, maybe I'm jumping an episode, but I think back to, there was one episode that the audio was really weird. Like,
oh yeah. Episode 0, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
One of us was in the left ear, one of us was in the right ear. And even like the next episode, the audio wasn't good.
Yeah.
And so we might have the same experience here visually. It's like, we've never done this before. We don't know. And so if we decide to keep going with visuals, that it will probably end up hopefully getting better. I remember saying, again, I don't know if it was 0 or 1 or 2, but something that I appreciate about you is that you always want to get better.
Mm.
You always want to improve and take what you've done and add to it. And I feel like this could be like another case of that we hit episode 10, we try something different, and when we look back, we're like, it's good. For the next time, we're going to keep getting better there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, this will probably be the same as the audio. We feel like we kind of got down, and then the video is now the next thing to work on and make sure that we can land that and put it in a good place. So the quality is much better, and it makes it a bit more personal, I think, like having people instead of just voices.
Yeah.
Because for people who know us, they can visualize who we are and like visualize the conversation. But if you find this space and you have no idea who we are and you've never met us before, then you're just hearing voices and you kind of start to picture what we could look like. And then you see this episode and you're like, damn, that's not what I was thinking.
He really is that tall.
Until I stand up and go out of frame, you won't know. Moving on to episode 1, we went a bit more about you and me personally.
Yeah.
And so it was like Jonah specifically and how you got here, and then Lockie specifically and how I got here. Shared a lot of little moments, little stories.
Yep.
Bit of like background information, which was, I think, exciting because we both learnt a bit about each other as well.
I was about to say, I learned some things about you and your story that I had never heard before, and I like really enjoyed listening to that. I remember having that feeling sitting around the fire and being like, oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
That's what we needed. And I think that's continued through every episode so far. It's just little hints of, wow, that's good to know, and little bits of gold that jump in and out.
Yeah. And the power of sharing a story, any story, maybe not any story, but sharing personal stories with each other on a podcast or off it is going to increase connection and like friendship. You're just sharing parts of your life that the other person doesn't know yet. And then you're like, oh, I know a little bit more about this little rabbit hole of this person.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just sharing a personal story does that and helps that, and that we need to get better at doing that.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
The back half of episode 1, which I really enjoyed, was we went through a little bit of a challenge for us, and we set ourselves the challenge to describe ourselves in 3 words. My first question is, do you remember what 3 words you used? And then our second part to it will be, what words would you use now, and see if any of them have changed.
Okay, do you have...
I have them.
You have them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went digging.
I would say we both said curious? Question mark? One of us said curious?
No,
Along
not
those
really.
lines?
Yeah, similar. You justified as a word that you didn't know if it was a word. And you were trying to like piece it all together.
Man, that's so interesting.
It's so far away.
I have no recollection. All right.
Okay,
Hit us with
so
it.
yours was intrigue. Was
Mhm.
your first one.
Okay.
You're in like a period of intrigue, and you didn't really know specifically what that was or meant, but it was just that idea of like being curious or wanting to dive deeper into a lot of things. You said cheeky, which I think would still be that's like a lifelong thing. That's just your personality, which is good. And then wanting more courage. You couldn't figure out like what the word for that was. Well, I couldn't either. We were both sitting there thinking
Wanting
about it.
more courage.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Man, that's sick. Okay.
And then mine was perspective,
Yep.
driven, and kind, which was the idea. We went between being nice and kind, and nice being like you say whatever you have to do to make the person happy, and then kind is being relatively blunt to make them better.
I think it's coming back to me a little bit, but we ended up imagining a scale, and there was nice at one end, blunt at the other, and kind in the middle. And that I would sit somewhere here on the nice, and you would sit somewhere here on the blunt, and we were both trying to work towards. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It all comes back together. Back after that, what do you think, if you were to describe in 3 words in this current chapter or season,
Like it.
where would you be sitting?
I would say cheeky. I would say I'm gonna hyphen a word, and that word is goal orientated. which is very interesting for me because I haven't been goal orientated for a lot of my life. And it's only recently in some areas of my life that I've discovered that being goal orientated has like driven me or given me energy to pursue something. And so I'm learning that. So goal orientated. And I would probably say content. Yeah, I don't have everything I've ever dreamt of, and I still have goals, but in the pursuit of that, I'm feeling really content.
My current 3 are pretty evident at the moment because I have them publicly. And like social media and stuff, you have a bio, and I have like changed my little description of my account as more of like a personal reminder of like these are the 3 words that you kind of maintain at the moment. I think driven is similar to your cheeky. It's kind of something that for a long time is going to stick with me, just because I don't know if it was my upbringing or like genetics from my parents, but I just want to be like reliable and as good as I can at everything that I do. And if I can't be the best at it, then I just won't do it.
Yeah,
Which is, it has pros and cons. But that's definitely one. Driven is like my biggest thing. If there's something I care about, I'm putting 100% into it, and I won't take much less. I take 99 or 98, but that's about it. Adventurous is probably another word. This would explain adventurous a little bit, but I love just getting out and trying things, but again within reason, which is a bit of a technicality because a lot of adventurousness, or that word, is just be uncomfortable and just go for it. But there's certain things like we talk about later with circles and like fears and barriers where there's some things I just have no interest in spending my time on, and so I choose where that adventurous side comes out. But yeah, being outdoors specifically, if we're talking about that kind of adventure, then yeah, here we are. This is
here for it.
I wouldn't want to be in a city with buses, trains, and taxis and car horns all over the place. I think this is much more my vibe.
You want to be forest bathing.
Yeah, forest bathing, soaking it in. So driven, adventurous, and impulsive. What's the other one?
Impulsive?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm a very impulsive person. I don't like book things very far in advance unless it's like massive and needs a lot of organizing. And so I'll just kind of keep my calendar free, and anytime I want to do something, I do it. Or if I want to buy something, I buy it. And I just kind of live in the moment a little bit. Not to be cliche or super deep, but I just enjoy not being tied to a schedule, which is funny because a lot of my life is built around routine, and I love routine day to day.
Yeah.
But I love being able to just break the routine and go do something weird and silly. And
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's probably like a healthy impulsive. Like if you're like an impulsive person and you like unpredictable and you don't know what's going to come next, like that can be a bit unhealthy, but you're just sprinkling it in. I like those 3 words. It's cool. So that was end of episode 0 or episode 1.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you know what episode 2 was?
Experiential learning?
Boom.
Was it?
Yeah. So intro to Stoke and what it is, and then we went out intro to us and who we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like experiential learning is an intro into what we do.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea, us, the people behind it, and what we do.
Yeah.
Going into experiential learning. Did you want to do a little Jonah's definition of experiential learning?
Off the dome?
Yep. No pressure.
Experiential learning is this idea that whether someone takes us through an experience or we just have an experience, there's so many things that we can learn in it. And as a job, we get to guide people through an experience and then get them to think about it and just see and discover if something is able to change or transform in somebody based off their experience. I think sometimes we don't learn super well just being told something. For example, I can't tell you to be brave, or I can, but like you might not. You won't just grab it and suddenly you're brave. But if I can take you through an experience where you need to increase in bravery, you're more likely to transform and change. And that's what an experience does, I believe. even recording a podcast from episode 0 to now, the whole thing has been an experience. And I think you and I quite naturally look back and reflect and ask ourselves questions. And like, we've learned so much from this experience practically in how we do this, but also who we are and how we operate. And like, I've learned things about myself, which has been really helpful. So experiential learning is learning and discovering new things through the things that we get to immerse ourselves in and experience.
I think to add to that, the reality is everyone, I don't know how to explain this, everyone experiences experiential learning
Yes.
like non-stop every day, but part of experiential learning is being intentional and like aware of it, so that you're doing it on purpose and you're creating a space where that happens. And so in our job and running camps and taking people on adventures and showing them that intentionally, it's a lot more obvious. But even day to day, like going to work and things like that, most people would be trying to get better and develop and learn new skills, and you're trying to learn through experience. But to have someone guide you or lead you in that space that does said task a lot, I think it changes the idea and you take a lot more in. But you need to create that space where you're kind of thinking about it.
Was that the episode that I shared about playing games?
Yeah, so the next part is that you shared a story about like your story and where you've experienced that learning, and then I did the same.
Yeah, I remember talking about what you just said, that you'll go through an experience and you'll learn something even if you're unaware of it. So I shared the story of playing board games with my mom or my grandma, and they just always winning, and I didn't enjoy the feeling, and so I decided to stop playing the game, because if I don't play, I don't lose. And I think this might be the first episode that I was like, I'm having a moment. And that has like, it's really helped me move forward, because we changed the language to, if I don't play, I don't learn. It doesn't mean I have to play everything, but if I don't even attempt, I'm not going to learn. I remember that. I remember that moment around the fire. I was like, oh my goodness.
There's moments like that. So I wish we had a camera, because we're just sitting here like talking, and we're like, oh my gosh, all these pieces just coming back together.
Yeah.
And we talked about it recently. It was either in the car here or yesterday at work, but the idea of, I think I shared with you another video that if you choose not to play, you're losing anyway. And so you either play and lose with the idea of possibly being able to win or succeed, or you're just choosing to lose with no option to succeed.
Yeah.
Which is
the thing, that the part that got me in that video was, he said, if you don't play because you're scared of who you are if you fail, or who that person is, then you're that person anyway, because you failed by not even doing it. And so you might as well just try it. I was like, man's got me. I'm done.
I shared which you've heard this a million times, so I apologize, but the life I've experienced with juggling and learning that as a skill.
It's golden.
And another quote which I picked up as of recently, which ties into that very well, is when people get surprised by someone who juggles, or like I've experienced it where people are like, that's crazy, how can you do that? Like, I can't even catch a ball. When I started, like someone threw a ball at me, I couldn't catch it. And I just made that decision of, I'm just going to dedicate myself. I was driven. I was like focused. I was like, this is all I'm doing, and I'm going to get to this point, and I won't stop until I do. And then you get there. It takes time, but you get there eventually. And now the quote that I saw the other day is, it wasn't juggling specific, but I inserted my own story into it. And it was like, of course I'm better at juggling because I've failed more than you. And I've, like, when you juggle and you practice, you drop nonstop and you have to pick it back up and you go again, and you're just striving and repeating for perfection. But the idea is that the only reason that I can do it is because I have failed so many times over and over and over. And I decided to do that.
Yeah.
If you decided to do that, you'd be at the same point.
Yes.
And then that is where I brought it to you and was like, damn, like when you talk about the games and all that kind of stuff of like failing and succeeding, and if you don't play, you don't learn or you don't lose. That was my moment where I tied it all to that thing, which I found was awesome. It's good when you have something that you can experience from yourself.
Yeah.
Because your board game thing, like I played Monopoly and flipped a board before because I'm upset, but
Yeah.
I have never chosen not to play because I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
But I also don't have that competitive family member who obliterates every game. So
100%.
it's a different environment to be in, I think. One of the other points that I saw in that, like looking at your story of playing games or not playing games and juggling or not juggling, you said before about, I don't know if it was courage. It was literally 2 minutes ago. You were saying like you can't, it's not a skill you can just pick up. You have to do it. And so like patience, we discussed is like one of those things that you can't be a patient person without having to be patient.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in that position. It's the same as like to play the game. You have to sign up to potentially lose because that's the way you learn. So it really just opens up a cloud of like, I know people say anything's possible, but if you're just willing to fail and learn rather than get upset about it, then success is almost guaranteed.
That's the question you have to ask yourself. Are you okay with failure? Like if you go for this, are you okay to fail? And if you can answer yes, you're going to do well in terms of moving forward and getting better. Because you're like, yeah, I'm okay with failure. And I know there's areas of my life that I'm not okay with it. And so I'd rather not do it. And that holds me back.
Yeah.
But being like, am I okay to fail? Is, it's going to be okay.
What's the result? A little like thought process or coping mechanism that we use at work was the what now? And that fell into the back end of this episode in a sense of if you are willing to step into that space of learning and failing and then learning and failing to refine whatever it is that you're trying to work towards, using that framework, what now, to think through the process. And it almost turns the failure in a sense of like, what happened? What was the failure? What does that mean? And then what now? What are we going to do with that information? We have a decision. Do we run away and cry about it, or do we use it and move forward?
It changes it from failing to failing forward. You're not just failing and staying there. You're saying, what happened? So what does that mean? And what does that mean now? Literally moving forward. It just pivots you to fail forward.
Damn. I'm having another moment. I think when it comes to like Stoke and what we've done with our 9 episodes up until this point, like for me, that's the one thing that I utilize the most within our job and what we do. Again, having 2 quite different roles, but side by side, kind of like same shopping center, different aisle is kind of like where we are. But for me, I get the opportunity to ask a lot of questions to a lot of people who are going through it. They're either like being forced into a situation or coming somewhere that makes them super uncomfortable, and then being able to be that stranger that just levels with them. And I find that using that system is just, it makes my job so easy because you have a set framework and you work through it. The other way I'd talk about it is if you memorize it and have it in your head, it's like the doctor's ABCD when it comes to like first aid and CPR and stuff. Like if you just have that framework, as soon as you get thrown in that situation, it just dings in your head, and then you're like, okay, first step, what? Next one, what does that mean? And what now? Where are we going? So yeah, I think for me, not to jump the gun, but within all 9 episodes, I think that's one of the like key takeaway points.
That's so good.
And I'd encourage anyone I know to utilize it. Not just in our industry either.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just in your life. Yeah. It's cool.
The last point in experiential learning was things that would help in experiential learning. What makes it better? What makes it easier? The framework is a big thing, being able to reflect upon yourself. The other thing that you brought along is a guide. So someone to like lead you in that space, but not just kind of like command and point, do this, but a guide, someone who walks the walk with you and just sits there with you.
I feel like the most effective guide will help you discover the thing, not tell you the thing. Yeah. Because then you're experiencing it and learning it for yourself. So if you can have a guide who points you in discovery, I'm glad there's visuals.
Done. And then I pointed in the direction of like a shared experience. So it does tie in, like having a guide there is sharing the experience with someone, but as well as having a guide, like what we do as a job, we're the guide and we take say 20 kids on average to do an experience. Some have done it before, some have never done it before, but giving them the space to share the emotions, share the feelings, share the space, and not just in a learning and growth space, but even just confidence. Like if one person's super confident and one person's super not confident, they can kind of meet in the middle and then both succeed together. So doing something alongside other people, whether they're confident or in the same boat as you, I think a shared experience is massive.
100%.
And nothing's going to bring people together more than a shared experience.
It's great. And that's what's happening right now. Like neither one of us are the guide because we've never done this before.
Yeah.
But we are experiencing it and we're learning together and we're asking each other questions and we're going, should we do this? Or I'm picturing this, what are you picturing? And so we're experiencing it together and it's helping us.
And then that follows into the following episode, which was asking good questions. When we talk about a guide and experiential learning, we tried to define what a good guide was. A very long conversation cut short was a good guide is someone that asks good questions. And as you were just saying, like, you're not there to tell them the answer. You're there to guide them to the answer so that they figure it out themselves. And the best way to do that is by asking good questions.
I remember re-listening to this episode and I made some notes. So something that I said that I wrote down was that the invitations to get to know somebody or yourself are as unlimited or as limited as the amount of questions you have. So if you have limited questions, you're going to find out limited things. But if we can be like, I can ask anything within reason, I suppose. And that's what a good guide can do. Isn't boxed into like, I only have 5 questions. But if you can generate interesting and engaging questions, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit. Something that I really appreciated that you said on the episode was that, just to quote you, you said, if you ask the wrong question from the wrong reason or the wrong motive, you'll get the wrong answer. And that pivoted us to this idea that we can ask really good questions if it's from a really good motive and a good reason. And often we'll get not the right answer, we'll get the real answer or the good answer. And that comes with responsibility of ready to hold that. And then you ask the question, how can I achieve the real answer, not the right answer? They were the 3 things that I wrote down from that episode. Sorry to hijack if you had some things in place for that. But
this is good.
Those things, similar to what you were saying about the previous episode and the things that, that being one of the things that you'll take away and remember, those couple of things will always come to my mind when I think about, okay, right now I need to ask some questions. I need to open a conversation or whatever. And I'll think to myself, what's my motive? What's a good question? And am I ready to receive and hold the real answer? Yeah.
The word that I highlighted in that kind of encapsulates all that is agenda.
Yeah.
And so the dot point under that is like, what is the agenda? And is it all about me or is it all about you?
Stunning.
And so I think that encapsulates like the good question. And the other like really important component is timing.
I wasn't expecting your laptop to make a sound.
As I said, timing.
Perfect. Leave it in.
Yeah. So yeah, like the timing of the question I think is really important as well. And that comes in whatever scale you're choosing. Like sometimes we talk about people's life being a season or a chapter of a book or things like that. Sometimes specific questions, although they seem fitting at the moment, if you hold off for about 20 seconds and think about it, there's kind of that side of you that's like, maybe this person doesn't need this right now.
Wow.
Or even it's within one of our sessions at work and we've got like a 2-hour block. Maybe the question's at the start or it's at the finish or maybe it's in the middle.
So many things to think about.
Yeah.
When to ask. It's just one layer.
Yeah. But then there's also the flip side of that. Whereas like if you hesitate too much, maybe you don't ask the question. So there's probably also an argument for like, just ask it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Play the game and you might fail, but
yeah,
you tie it all together. This like topic really boosted like a theme throughout the next couple episodes. When we dissected like what is a good question and how does it work, we broke down the word question and we turned it into to quest, which I think you were saying there was a bit of a story behind it. Someone else like broke it up, and then we added the back end of the word, which is ion.
ION.
Yeah. And so then we were like, so every time we ask a question, the real question is, what quest am I on? And so that's what a question is for us. It's not just a yes, no. It's always a quest, and you're always trying to get to a specific point, but you're not taking the direct route. You almost want to go to as many different locations before you get there, so you have as much information as possible.
And that's the journey of discovery. Yeah. When we started unpacking that, I think it opened. It felt like I was on the quest of asking good questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stunning.
The back end of that, we asked a few questions to each other.
Okay. Was one of them, what quest are you on?
Yeah, there was some of that. Another one was, which we used at the start, but it's, who are you and what are you doing here?
Oh, I told the story of the monk.
Yeah. So there's the monk. We use the examples of you and I just going on a random lunch mission, and we're just pulling someone from work in the car with us, and we're like, want to come get lunch? They're like, sure, sounds good. And then as soon as we like lock the door and put it in drive, it's like, who are you and what are you doing?
That's your whole story, dude.
And most of the time it's a bit of confusion, but then you just let it sit and you don't even have to say anything. It just lands, which I think is really good. But I think the thing that we also do there is we're not just asking someone at lunch in a big circle where everyone's there. You create the space by putting them in a little box and making it seem comfortable and natural and relaxed.
It's the understanding of potentially where the conversation and where the questions could end up with what type of story and the depth of the place that you go to, and probably just asking yourself, is this a group setting thing? Is this just a little car ride? Is this, I think we're just super aware that when you ask those type of questions, you get a different answer if it's just 3 people. And that you're all on the same level of vulnerability, as opposed to like a big group and you're like, I don't know how most of these people are going to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it came from you, but we threw up the other question, which I don't know how to explain it, but I think we were saying that like the better questions are the ones you can't answer straight away. So when someone asks you, it almost like chokes you and stops you, and there's nothing to do besides just sit in silence and think of your answer and then go. And one of the ones you threw out is, what don't you like about yourself?
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, it just makes you sit there. And there's obviously, with every question, there's that impulse answer, but generally, I know it's kind of known or not one you want to share. And so then to give someone an answer about that, you really have to think.
Yeah. I got hit with one maybe a couple of weeks ago. Somebody had listened to the Asking Good Questions episode, and they sent me a text saying, what quest are you on? And I was like, okay, I have to think about this. So I've had that feeling recently. Yeah, what don't you like about yourself? It's a phenomenal question, and it can unearth a lot of things. But I think it's really good to ask yourself that question. What don't you like about yourself?
The visual representation we had for asking a question, or a good question, not are you hungry, yes or no, but something like, what quest are you on, who are you, what are you doing here, or what don't you like about yourself, is the idea of the trifold mirror, which we tried to resemble with audio only. And if we were recording, our hands were like this the whole episode.
I think that's probably standing up, pacing.
Yeah. We're really trying to like articulate what was happening in front of us. But it's the idea of when you don't ask someone a question and they're left to do things on their own or experience something on their own, they're essentially just looking in the reflection and that's all they see. And then when you start to ask good questions, you kind of like fold out this side and they can now see like the back of their head on this side. And then you fold this side, you got the back of your head on this side. You get that, I guess the word is perspective, but you get insights and perspective of things that are you, but you don't get to see them. You can't see that, which is really interesting.
It's like driving in a car and you have a blind spot. and it takes some sort of different movement or a mirror to see that spot. You need help. And there's also part of us that chooses not to see some things. And so having somebody ask a really good question that it looks like you're looking in a mirror and you can see something that you hadn't seen before, maybe your brain didn't want you to see. It's just a question can open those little flaps of a mirror out, and you're like, whoa, I wouldn't have caught that on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good real world example, is like driving a car, blind spots. It's literally the whole reason we have side mirrors is to help that and catch those things as they come up. Moving forward, we transition into a space of something that we really enjoy, and I would say it's a skill that you have to learn as well. But it's the idea of going off the script, which is, as you would describe, we go day to day on a script, or there's just interactions and movements that happen day to day, and you don't think about it because it's part of the script. But what does it look like to just make a decision to change it and do something completely out of pocket that just builds connection or makes people think or operate differently?
What was so ironic about this episode is that we're in a different location. We were next to a little stream. We had a fire. And I'm not sure at what point, but at one point through the episode, somebody came past on a bike. He like rode through the river, and we just turned around and we're like, hey, how you doing? And that was like so on script. And he was like, good, thank you. Like, and then just went off, and we like went back to the episode. And then I think you were like, that was so on script, or there was some comment, and we were like,
it was instantly. As soon as he left, we were like, we're talking about off script. Sorry to jump in. We had also done all the current episodes like at a fire pit in the same location. We decided to move down towards the river, and we thought the audio would be great with a flowing river, but it just sounded like
apologies.
Static. But yeah, and then we had that first interaction where he rides across, and straight afterwards, we both looked at each other in silence, and we knew what we were thinking. We're like, why? After this whole thing of talking about going off script and not following the script, the one chance live in the middle of a thing, we were just like, hey, and then kept going. Do you remember what happened after that?
A second person came through.
Yeah.
And I asked him a couple of questions, and he had to like fully stop. And did he like lift his helmet up or something? Like he had to do, he had
earbuds.
Yeah, he had earbuds, and he had to like take it out. And we just went there. I asked him how far or something or whatever. Yeah. And then he carried on. And I was like, that felt better.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like it was still short, sharp and sweet. There's probably maybe 3 questions within that interaction. And I would say minimal input from his side. Like he's got music pumping. He's in the zone. We're sitting not in an accessible area. So he's put in work to get there. And I would assume every single other person, if anyone, that he sees on that track is just going to do this or not even acknowledge. So he was probably surprised that he got acknowledged in the first place, and then was not ready to answer. Plus probably had like heavy metal blasting in his ears.
Yeah. And I would say that props to him, because although it was minimal effort, he probably didn't set out on his bike ride thinking, I'm going to have a really good conversation with a stranger today. Or not even really good, but like, I'm here to ride my bike and just be in nature and whatever. So props to him for being like, I'm going to stop and, you know.
He could have just ignored it.
He could have been like, yeah, no, I'm going to keep going. That would have been off script. Can you imagine? He was like, nah.
Just be like, good, thanks. That's not what we asked.
How far are you going? Thank you. See you.
Yeah.
You too.
Tomorrow. Yeah. So the pros and cons of going off script and like what opportunity lies within that was quite an interesting topic, because we didn't really have an answer going into the idea of going off script, but it was a question that we kind of asked ourselves, and we had to think about it and go through the thought process. Some of the things he wrote is it obviously creates connection with people, because you're instantly having to like stop and interact and think about the conversation and where it's heading. It challenges our beliefs a little bit, and in the same respect, it makes us like step out of our box or our circle and get a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, or just get away from said script. So it's not autopilot, it's a thought process.
Yeah. not to take up too much time on this, but I have a story from maybe 2 weeks ago.
Shit.
I was in Coles with my wife, and we were looking at we were in the chocolate aisle, and chocolate's so expensive. And so Georgia and I were looking at just the selection, and we were just like, this is so expensive. And a lady came past pushing a trolley at the moment that I was like, this is crazy. And she was like, chocolate's so expensive at the moment. Like, my daughter went to buy chocolate and for like cooking, and it costed this much or whatever. And we just had like a good laugh about how expensive it was. And she was like, anyway, I'll leave you to it. And I said to her, like, be careful out here. Like, it's crazy. And she just cracked up. And it was just it was like off script. It was short and sweet. We didn't have to do something like, but like usually someone walks past and there's not even like eye contact. And she actually initiated. She was like, yeah, it's ridiculous. And so we just like had this like moment, like, and that was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I still remember that interaction. I can picture her face. I can't picture anyone's face that we went to Woolies yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't remember anybody.
Yeah.
So it's this, it creates moments and interaction and connection that potentially, you might not forget about it for a while.
And I don't know, we live in a pretty small place, like, although we're in the world and all our cities and towns, but those people that you meet and interact with, you're just going to run into them somewhere. That's just how it works. It just lines up and you see them again, or you see her in the chocolate aisle.
So
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The last component of that kind of episode was talking about when you go off script, we all operate within a script, or we deemed it as more of like a box.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sit inside the box and they operate inside the box. There's a handful of people who operate outside the box, and that's what off script is a little bit, that intentional decision to step out. You can go back in the box when you need to, but the other thing you pointed out is there's a lot of people that just don't understand or know that the box exists. And like they're not aware of the script, they're not aware of anything, it just happens naturally. And that's kind of what, I guess, if we link back to shared experience and experiential learning and all that kind of stuff, you're almost showing people the script visually and giving them an opportunity to go outside it. And then I think the script is like verbally how we talk to people and how we discuss, but it's also the experience that we give people of, like, we work a 9 to 5 and there's other people who, like, entrepreneurs or whatever, and they make their own hours and they make their own money, or they operate in their own way. And if you live within that same system, there's no harm in that. There's also no harm in stepping out and trying something new. You just have to decide when you want to do that.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool conversation to think about the people who don't know that the script exists. And then after that, I remember going home that day and just thinking about, like, what is the script? And I was trying to go through, and every time I did something in my life, I was like, is this part of it? Is this what I'm meant to be doing right now?
There's an author, his name's Erwin McManus, and he defines a genius as somebody who does something in a field of the world in a way that when people interact with it, they never see it the same ever again. And so, when you think of genius musicians, they do something and you're like, I'm never going to understand music the same way, or like an artist or whatever. And we have that opportunity. You go off script, you do something different, you see the world differently, and other people are like, I'm never going to see that thing the same anymore. And I think it's a really beautiful characteristic of a genius, where you're like, how did you even do that? How did you, like, I'm never going to unsee that in a positive way. It's just a characteristic of genius. I want to be that.
I think there's also the same thing within social media. One of the videos that I saw the other day was one of those audio clips, which is this weird noise, and you can't figure it out what it is, but then a sentence will pop up on the screen. And so the same noise plays, but now that you're reading a sentence, you can hear the sentence in the noise that you heard the first time.
Interesting.
And then another sentence pops up, and again, it's the same noise, but because of what you're reading, it changes your brain, and it's like a little brain trick. And that always impresses me because it's the same noise over and over and over, but different context. And you can hear, if you read the words, you can hear those words without the noise changing.
Wow.
And that's just a short 10-second version of what all of this is, right? Like taking someone out, showing them an experience and opening their eyes to be like, this is the sentence you read every day, but if you do this 30-meter giant swing, I'll show you a different sentence you can read. And
that's a great way of putting it. I really enjoy that.
They get to live with that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Oh, then we move on to the back end. This is where it started to get, like, we've got the foundations. We're kind of familiar with each other now. We're understanding the industry and the thought processes and how we do what we do, but also why we do it. There's a future episode that we want to do somewhere, which is the difference between how and why. Because obviously knowing how you do something is the easiest thing to learn, but what's more important and creates a lot more meaning and longevity for you is when you know why you do something.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that I know about, but I don't know a lot about. I want to expand my knowledge, and I feel the best way to do that is to, one, research it a bit, but then have the conversation and get our real world perspectives onto it. The back end was talking about the kind of tools we utilize and the mindset we have and the little like tricks and things we've picked up along the way. And the ironic things about all of these is they all come from an experience. And so as much as we talk about experiential learning and learning from experiences, all these things are kind of things that we have learned from doing the experiences.
Yeah.
And now we get to pass them on to other people or challenge other people with them. The first thing that is a big contributing factor, which like this is just going to be a forever thing in our life and forever developing is the power of stories and how we use stories within our job and how we interact with people. And when we talk about the script, although telling stories sounds like you're a kid at a childcare center telling little stories, but as we both pointed out, we tell stories non-stop. Like accidentally, part of the script is telling a story. Yeah. And every time you try to explain something, you're telling a story. Every time you reflect on your weekend or you have that standing conversation of like, how was your weekend? Good. What'd you do? Not much. Like, and then you go, oh, actually, story. Like,
enter story. Yeah. I remember saying like, it's actually very hard to transfer information about somebody or their experience without using a story as the vehicle.
Yeah. You were saying that you believe that we as humans are designed to share stories. Like that's our peak level of communication because it paints pictures for people. It puts people in the scenarios. And I had a school last week who was a year 11 group doing a Life Ready program, which is like an intentional kind of transition from being a kid, moving to adult and getting out of school and making all the good decisions. They get these third-party speakers in, and one of them was, I'd say, interesting. His content was there and was talking about the right topics, but I just don't think it was landing very well.
The delivery was hard.
Yeah. And then the next day, you weren't able to make that one, but I popped in for a little bit and instantly, although it was similar information, the difference between the people watching and understanding was that like night and day. They're just staring at him. Some of them like making comments and then like going back to him. And the only difference is that every 20 seconds, he's telling some sort of story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem, he's not framing it up to be like, okay, let me tell you a story.
Yes.
He'd just be landing a point and be like, literally last week, this.
And he's in the story.
Yeah. And we've done it in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like we constantly keep going back and sharing those moments. So I think, we both agree that that's the peak level. That's what we want to get to. My personal journey over the next 12 months or more will be like, what stories can I learn and remember and intentionally continue to use? Because I feel like the more you use a specific story, the more detail you can get into and the better you get at delivering. If you're just talking about your weekend, then it's your first thing. You're making it up on the fly and it gets really hard to repeat. So
there's a group that comes to our workplace every year, and it's an adult group of professionals, and I have the privilege of spending a couple hours with them to do some training things. And I always ask myself, what story do I share at the start that every activity that we do and every challenge that we face, I bring that story back into it, and they don't really understand the story at the start. But by the time we come back and do a debrief, they will be referencing the story and characters in the story. And I really enjoy that idea and that skill of being like, similar to a question, like asking good questions. You don't have to start with a story. There's some genius in where do I insert the story and how much of it, and where do I start in the story. There's so many elements to sharing a good story, but having the skill of a bank of stories with different potential meanings and where to place them and how to start and where to finish, and do you even resolve the story? Like, it's a beautiful skill, and similar to you, I want to really hone in the next 12 months how I use them and how effective they become.
We both shared like a selection of a story, and so you chose a brief on the spot decision about the Baker theory, which was like the kind of purpose behind the story, as well as being able to like feed information and remember things, and having the dude, I think his last name was Baker, but he was also a baker.
First name Peter.
Peter
Baker.
Peter Baker. And so just something like that makes it instantly more memorable with a story.
Yeah, and he was a baker.
Yeah.
That's the story.
And so it becomes
it.
easy to remember.
Yeah.
Of like, if you were trying to remember who Peter was and it's Peter Baker, he's a baker, like it's going to stick in your head more than it's Peter Baker and Peter's a common name.
And you're like, and I've instantly forgotten it.
Yeah. So putting a bit of a story behind things makes it more memorable and easy to digest or make it relatable. I brought out like an Instagram reel that I had seen, which was the donkey in the well. And it was just a short story about the donkey that fell in the well and what the decision he made. And just that story alone was more about, it kind of transitioned into what the following episode was, but it's not always about the story. And the following episode is the thing isn't always the thing. And so the idea is using the story of like the donkey of the well or the Baker theory. Like, you don't tell the story because the story's cool. You tell the story because it creates a specific like outcome, or it guides the person on the right direction. And I guess it all just ties back to the beginning of experiential learning and guiding someone on a journey. It doesn't have to be physically. You can do it a bit like more in the head and tell them a story that they can recall, and then you apply that to your own life and situation, and then boom, you're good to go.
A live example of how powerful stories are, I haven't re-listened to that episode, and we haven't spoken about the donkey in the well very often since that episode. As soon as you said the donkey in the well, I remember the story, I remember the things that we spoke about, and I remember the thing underneath the story. I remember the reason for the story. And it's all because it was delivered to me in a story.
Yeah.
And I can unpack it immediately.
And what's unreal, which I don't know, I guess it's just the reality of it, but it's not my story, and it's one that I found online, and the one I was watching was also probably not the original, and the one that was based off was probably not the original. So even though a story gets like slightly altered and things like that, it still lands the same effect. And it doesn't matter which version of that story you're seeing, you're getting the same outcome. If not, you're getting new outcomes, which are just being generated out of nothing. And even once I told the story and we spoke about the things that I was saying, of, you can go back and watch it if you want to learn the story. I won't tell the whole thing. But for the donkey to get out, he's getting dirt poured on him. The farmer at the top is just deciding he can't get the donkey out, so he's going to bury him. But instead of getting buried, the donkey decides to like shake off the dirt and then step up. And he continuously does that for hours on hours until he's out of the well. And it was like, that whole story was the idea of like not giving up and deciding, like, when dirt gets thrown on you, you have a decision. You can stand there and let it build up and bury yourself, or you can choose to step up. It'll take time, but you will get out. And then the other thing which we decided at the end, which wasn't the thing, is that like once that hole's filled, once you've been in the hole and you've gotten out, like, you won't fall in that hole ever again. No one around you is going to fall in that hole again, because it's not a hole anymore. It's been filled. So you can just keep going and going and going and developing all these little like thoughts and pieces. And I've shared that story with like 2 groups at work now, and it just lands the point.
It's stunning. I love that story.
We need more of them.
We need more.
We need to get more. And then you were talking about the idea of like the donkey in the well and other things like that being deemed under the title of a parable. Do you just want to briefly explain?
A parable is a word story. So you audibly tell a story that's not connected to the thing that you want to talk about specifically, but the thing is rarely the thing. So it's like a parallel to the thing that you want to talk about, and you're just explaining it in a very different way. And I think often that helps people see what you're trying to communicate, or help you, because you're like, oh, I've never looked at it in that. It's probably like another mirror.
It's more mirrors.
I've never looked at it like that, or now it makes a lot of sense, or I can see I can see the connection. A parable is like I guess it's like a metaphor, but it's specifically story is a parable, a word story. Yeah.
The following on from all of that, we landed on the thing not being the thing and the outcomes, and another real, it must have been the next episode or the following week that popped up, was one of the viral sensations from years ago, about the ant and the pen and the circle, and choosing to step in or out of the circle. And essentially the ant's placed on the paper, the dude draws a circle around it with pen, the ant feels trapped, but realistically anyone knows that it's just a line of pen and it can just cross it, but the ant doesn't know that. And then a guy draws smaller and smaller circles until inevitably the ant steps over the circle by accident, and then he's like free. He can't be trapped. He'll run anywhere. You can draw more lines in front of him. He now has the confidence.
Yep.
And so then we twisted that, and basically the next two episodes, which are the last two we filmed, were just the back end of that, talking about the circle and the ant, and taking that idea similar to the donkey in the well, but instead of just pulling outcomes, like putting it into our life and talking about it. So what we decided to do was go and brainstorm what are some things that sit within our life that are potential a barrier around us, and would we choose to step over it? And what we found really hard is, similar to the ant, you don't really know you're trapped until you choose to step over the line. So we had to, I don't know, I think we both struggled significantly to figure out what that circle was in our life and what it looked like.
Yeah. We ended up, I can't remember, we generated maybe 3 or 2 questions that help identify what's this circle made of, or what's in the circle, what's out of the circle, and is it worth stepping over it? There were some identifiers of the circle and when you bump up against it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed thinking about my circle. I don't know if we're jumping episodes now, but
do it.
We took the story of the ant and the circle and applied the thing is really the thing to it, which is a whole story of when I filmed a bike race, and somebody said to me, Jonah, the thing is really the thing. And it just opened up my eyes a little bit. But we took that story and we're like, okay, how do I relate that to myself? Where are my circles? Do I want to get over them, and why? And yeah, we went away and thought about those things. I found it difficult. It's in the similar vein of what don't you like about yourself?
Yeah.
And then we shared it, which, I recall the first episode afterwards you shared, and we had the idea that you would share and then I would share, but your episode just turned so beautifully and became just a conversation around your circle and some challenges around stepping outside of it. And it was just really beautiful. And we were just like, hey, let's just call this an episode and we'll do mine, later.
I think the important part was when we decided to talk about the circles, we didn't want to have to cut it off.
Yeah.
You just wanted to be able to let it go and go and go until it naturally died. And so, yeah, the idea was that I would start, and then we kind of got towards the end of mine and we were like, damn, well, we got 10 minutes for yours. So yeah,
we'll do it at a different time.
Wrapped it up, and then the following episode was yours. Based off a bit of reflection, a lot of my circle was based around my competitive nature and strive for perfection. And when we go back to talk about being driven and all that kind of stuff, I've been brought up in a space where I am a self-trained perfectionist, in the fact of I would probably have some sort of OCD. I love things being squared and put away and everything has a place. And yeah, I don't know, you saw my room for the first time, but it's just boxes, squares, like no
Yeah.
curved lines, everything's straight.
Oh shit, no, it's like, oh, this is Lockie's brain. Like, I get it.
And so, yeah, we're talking about that, but like, what is it? The opposite side of someone who's competitive and like super, I would say a certain level of aggression comes out with someone who's competitive.
Yeah.
Because you get passionate and you get emotionally attached to whatever you're working towards. The backside of that is kind of doing something for fun and just enjoyment and being happy. And so for me, the line was sitting somewhere in between being super competitive and doing something just for fun and choosing where am I going to step out of that circle. If I step out of it on this side, then I'm like Thursday night going to play soccer with some work friends and like enjoy myself and not be in the one spot where I can control everything, or go outside on this circle and choose to just do an activity. Like coming camping is probably the one thing where there's no competition. You can't be like the best at camping unless you go and compare your setup to everyone else. But like when it's yourself and you're in the bush and you just got your setup and your food, there's no competition there.
It's
like
just pure fun.
Yeah. So there's different versions of the words, and choosing to step out, I think, is important. Like that ant could have stayed in the circle all he wanted to, but he chose to step out, and then he really enjoyed what was on the other side, so he just kept going, which is kind of nice.
I remember comparing that competitive fun mode to your car. Your car's a hybrid, so sometimes it uses petrol and sometimes it's electric. And so it's like, is this petrol? Is this competitive? Is this, or is this like fun? And how do you switch, or how do you combine? And I really enjoyed that thinking.
And in terms of asking good questions, it was like one of the following weeks, it was Monday morning, and the first thing you said to me was like, how was your weekend? I was like, oh, good, on script. And then you were like, what fuel type did you use? I was like, well, I used both to get here. And then you're like, no, think about it. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a funny little link. Then up to episode 8 was the circle of friendship, which was encapsulated into your circle. Yeah. I don't know. I have some notes, but I'm more than happy for you to explain that side of things.
Very simply, I've been thinking about this circle a lot since discovering it. If to sum up, the circle that I discovered that I had was that I was scared that if a friendship became too good, essentially, I kept using the word beautiful, which I enjoy, that if it finishes somehow, because that's what I've experienced as a kid leaving England, when things finish and I am left with the pain of that, the circle is, well, I'd rather not go deep with somebody, or I'd rather not let it get to that stage of good or beautiful, because I don't like the feeling of when it ends. And even sharing that is stepping outside the circle, because it's like, well, now you know that mode of, that I operate in. And I actually, just sitting here, and maybe I've done it before, but just sitting here, I related it to me not playing the game experience. Essentially what I'm saying is, if our friendship is a game that I get to enjoy, and not like a game like, that I play around with it, but if it's something that I get to experience, am I choosing not to play because I don't want to lose? Which means I'm losing anyway. And when it comes to something as deep and as satisfying and as life-giving as connection and friendship and community, if I choose not to play the game, it's really not good for me. Worse than just simply not playing a card game, And so, I've been thinking about that a lot, and sharing some reflections with some people, and allowing myself to step outside the circle. And interestingly, there's somebody in my life who discovered a very similar circle, and he's decided, and a very simple practical thing, he's decided to start vocalizing when he really enjoys something. And so he was telling me that he was watching a TV show with his wife, and he really enjoyed the episode, and when it finished, he turned and said, I loved that episode. I really enjoyed this and this and this. And his wife was like, who's this? Like, who are you? I love this, like, more of this. And I was like, that's like, it's such a small thing, but I was like, man, that's really brave. Yeah. And I remember, if I remember correctly, was one of my challenges at the end of that episode being able to express to people that I'm grateful for them.
Yeah, I think we both agreed on the same thing.
Yeah.
About just that acknowledgement of being grateful, or not even, it doesn't have to be grateful, but just general appreciation of like you're seeing people, or you're like happy and grateful for the experiences that were produced. So
yeah,
has that been happening?
It has been.
Yeah.
I've been bumping up against the circle and being like, okay, here's a moment where I can decide it's worth it to step over it, or I can just decide to lose. What am I going to do? And I've been really like conscious. I've been really feeling that bump up against the circle, and I would say more often than not, stepping over it. And experiential learning, it's not as scary as I thought it would be. And I'm enjoying connecting with people on a deeper level. So, yeah.
I love it.
I remember that, and you might not want to talk about it, and that's okay, but I remember opening that circle up and it impacting you quite a bit. There was like a sentence or something that I said that you went away and you were like, oh, that actually relates to me. And then you spoke about.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of like it was weird because it went into episode 9, which was the most recent episode where we kind of like wrapped up. And the start of the episode, we didn't have a topic. It was just it was a catch up. We'd had 10, 12 weeks away from each other.
Yeah.
And it was a massive gap, and we'd been in different countries and all that kind of stuff. And then we'd come together. And so to talk about you and see if you had been stepping outside that circle, I kind of shared the idea of me just not really choosing to step in or out, just maintain, but review. And so we were looking at, I was looking at my friendship circles, and by that I just mean the groups of people that I surround myself with. Like I've got my work friends, which is like a circle, and I've got my out of work friends, another circle. You got family, all that kind of stuff. And then the idea of if you choose to step outside the circle and play the game of friendship, like you can only put in, or for me, I feel as though I can only put in so much effort into people, but different areas. So I decided to kind of like just start like counting the people in my life that like meant a lot. And like if they needed something, no matter where I am, what I'm doing, I'm there. And then I just kind of like filled up a hand, and then I went like, well, then if it was say like a archery target or something. So you got like the bullseye, then you got the next color and the next color. Like what's the next circle out? And that would be like your real close friends, but they're kind of at a distance or like at arm's length, and then counting the rest of those, and you kind of get to 10. And then I had all these other people that I respectfully, I would say the term is like you're stringing along. Like they're kind of there, but for what purpose? And they're just, you know them and you use them when you need them. But like, I don't know, you're at home and you got nothing to do and you're like, wait, want to go do this? But like, are you friends? Like what's the term of we're friends or we're best friends?
Yeah.
And so, it was just like a real deep reflection of almost giving everyone like a number and just counting how many people. And then I kind of decided that when I get to 10, how much more can I give? As soon as I start giving to number 11, it takes away from number 1, 2, and 3. Like it takes a percentage. So how much time do I actually have for the people around me? And do I want more people and give everyone a bit less, or do I want less people and give everyone a bit more? And I think for someone who enjoys their own company, like, look at this. I would much rather be here and give a lot more to this than have to like rush off and for the next 5 days be doing like different things with 5 different people. Like that would take a toll on me, so then I can't give.
Yeah.
And so that was quite you didn't know you were stepping into that. I remember the episode, you're like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Like came out of nowhere.
And I've actually, it's another conversation between you and I that I've been thinking about a lot, because I was in that episode, maybe I didn't give it away, but I was challenged and not like insulted, but like offended by the honesty around the, like in my head, I was like, he's put a limit, he's put a cap on. And I was like, oh, that offends something in me. And I'm like challenged by that. What is it? And it was that it was your honesty and your awareness around, I can't give all of me and all of my time to everyone. And so let me actually really intentionally think about the people that I can and that I want to. And like I wasn't like not okay with it, but like I'm really okay with it now. But I really appreciate your honesty and your self-awareness to, you know, acknowledge that and to work within that. And that's probably where, going full circle, on the scale of nice and blunt, you're the being kind with the touch of bluntness that you carry has enabled you to do that. I'm too nice to even think that I'm allowed to do that. But I know that I, to some degree, need it to be like, actually, these are the people that I need to build network and connection with because it's really good. And that there's other people that need my time and that I give it, but there's people that's like mutually beneficial and that it's life-giving and beautiful. And who are they and how do I invest into them? So I was really challenged by your thinking and your, which has been really good. I've enjoyed the challenge.
The other thing with it is, unless you're like, that's the only time I've ever said it to someone. And I guess if you're listening to the episode, then I'm telling it to more people, but you don't tell it to people. So no one knows. Like, no one knows where they sit. No one knows if they're outside your 10 fingers. No one knows if they're like, no one knows where they are. So they just know you for you, and they know what your friendship is, and they either like it or they don't. And if they don't, it doesn't continue. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that just happens behind the lines. And as I don't sit there every morning as a ritual and wake up and be like going through and like checking who the 10 people I'm allowed to talk to today are. Yes. Like, I'm completely open-minded, and tomorrow I could meet someone who goes to number one. Like, you just don't know. And so I don't often reference it, but I think it's important for me personally to understand that, like, some people you can just go for a walk, sit at a lookout, sit here, go to work somewhere, and it takes nothing to be with them. Like, you can just sit there for hours and it takes no energy, no resource. You don't even have to talk. You just sit there. But then there's other people who, like, they take your whole fuel tank. Like, yeah, they empty you. And so then it's deciding, like, what do you want and in what moderation? Like, how long can you be with someone for this or that? And just being honest with yourself. And I think growing up, I was always not in school. I was never in a set friend group. I was kind of like floating around because I was very just kind of open and I'd hang out with anyone. I was also really happy with just being by myself for a bit. And I think there's a lot of people that are like that, but don't know it. Yep. And I think, again, it's a skill. You have to just throw yourself out here, just go pitch your tent by the river and sit there for 2 days. No reception, no anything. And then do that a few times and you'll start to really love it, I think. Yeah. And it does change that group of people you're with. The last component of episode 9 before we get to where we are today was the question you had about FOMO and how you deal with FOMO and what is it and where does it show up. And I think we didn't touch on this at all in the episode, I don't believe, but just going through our whole sequence, it's impressive how much all of this ties together. Yeah. And the thing with FOMO for me that ties into this is that idea of we're both people who love experiential learning. We love going off script now that we've trained it a bit. We love the idea of stories. We love stepping outside our circle as long as it's an avenue we're willing to put time and effort into. So for those reasons, that's probably why we don't experience FOMO, like we explained in episode 9. But when we, at the start, we're talking about, like, if you don't play, you don't lose and things like that. Like, if you're someone who opts not to play all the time and you're living in the space of, like, but what if I did this, what would happen? And you choose not to. So then you have that curiosity. And that's probably what develops the FOMO, I would say. That's kind of like how my brain has tied it all together.
I remember leaving the episode, doing some reflection, and then I think the last pieces just clicked for me sitting here. Something that I said, or something that you said in the episode, was like, you're choosing to be controlled by the fear of something. Why would you let yourself do that? And I'm sitting here thinking, if I don't play, I don't lose. If I don't create beautiful relationships, I don't feel the pain of when it ends. It's not the fear of missing out, but I'm being controlled by fear. It's just not the fear of missing out on something, but I am being controlled by fear. And so I'm like trying to swallow my own words of being like, if you're under the influence of fear of missing out, you're being controlled by fear, but I am just as much the fear of not letting something become beautiful. And so I'm kind of being like, maybe it doesn't relate to me in FOMO, but the fear aspect does relate to me.
Yeah.
So better swallow some of that golden wisdom that I decided to spit out.
Yeah, I think for me, as we kind of come to a close today, something that I love is that each episode independently was so like brain opening. Like it created so much opportunity for thought and processing of day-to-day events. But until we sit here and piece every single episode together, like 0 all the way through to 9, and create this kind of chunk of information, it's all only starting to like land and link. And when I looked at the episodes, they all kind of seem very different, but now it just seems like one big one.
Yeah.
And I think if I was ever to like point someone in the direction of Stoke and what we are, like this is going to be the episode that I point people towards. And then if you want, I don't know, if they're interested in listening to our voices in different ears and like weird audio things, like then
feel free to
go and watch the rest. But there's a lot of information in those episodes and a lot of deep diving, but it wasn't until now that it all makes sense. And all those topics seem like, they seem random, but they also kind of now seem like we somehow picked them for a reason.
I think what's happened is we've collated all of the gold or all of the liquid into something that is boiling down into something else. And we've needed the time to let it simmer down to something. And we're picking it up now, and I'm giving you eyes because we have a little dream for an episode coming up that all of that will make sense. The simmering and the collecting things will make sense. Maybe a little teaser for another episode.
Bruh. That was a great way to wrap up.
Thank you so much.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Yeah. Moving forward, it'll be like 11 through to 19 will be the aim. We'll try and line up a few good points. Again, it'll kind of be what feels natural for us. We don't want to have a strict schedule and be forced to like talk about nothing.
Yep.
But yeah, I really want to do this again at 20, which means I really want to get to 20. So it's kind of like setting us a bit of a goal to work towards, but it's also like, I think that's what I'm going to be looking forward to, is sitting down, and we won't have to talk about 0 to 19. We'll just be able to go from 11 to 19 and then have these like little milestone recaps. It's almost like writing a book. So we've got all the chapters, and then you got like the
little summary thing.
The summary, and then we do the same thing again.
Yeah. I like the idea of getting to 19, not just for the sake of it, but finishing with another recap. It feels to me like that's a goal, and I'm beginning to become goal orientated. So
yes, I got him.
I'm like, ooh, I like that. It's good. I've really enjoyed the 9-10 episodes that we've filmed, and I didn't expect it to end up like this. I'm really grateful. I've learned a lot, and it's very vulnerable to do this and to know that there's a handful of people listening and potentially watching. But I've really enjoyed it, and I'm super grateful. And I appreciate you. You're pushing us to do it, and how easy conversation is. So thank you.
You did the thing. You were grateful. The only thing I would change for next one is maybe a more comfy seat. I've been dying.
Dude, your back must be killing.
My back's all right. It's my leg. They're not designed to be curled up in a ball like this. All right. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Boom.
Oh, Stoke.
Tough one.